Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTT. It's time to English New Edition for today. For tonight headlines, we have the State Secretary organizes a hike for young schools. For the international scene in Portugal, new Nazi group threatened dozen people. Welcome to our newsroom. The Minister of National Education Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, by the same occasion as acting ministers of higher education, toured the different sites hosting the writing exams of the first years and the baccalaureate exam session 2020. During this visit, the minister and his delegation is composed of senior officials from the two ministries visit successively the university sites in Djibouti, namely the campus of University of Balbala, the Faculty of Engineering and Site 1 of the university. Indeed, the main objective of this visit was to inquire about the state of progress of the organizational process of reception and the sanitary conditions reserved for thousands of candidates of the early examinations of first and baccalaureate sessions 2020. As this is a particular year that takes place in a context marked by COVID-19, at each of these stages the minister inspected the hand washing stations installed, the availability of disinfecting product, the masks to be given to the candidates, and more generally the layout of the interior of classrooms within the framework of the respect of distances. At the end of the visit, the Secretary General of the Ministry did not fail to congratulate and express his satisfaction with all the specific and special arrangements put in place in all the sites hosting the early examinations for the first year and the baccalaureate exam session 2020. The Minister of Health, Mohamed Samadiri, received in his office the new Director General of the Bank for Trade and Industry Red Sea, Mr. Regis Pariak, accompanied by his main collaborators, Mr. Abdulqadir Shahim Balla and Mr. Kahin Abdi Farah. The Director General of the BCE expressed his solidarity with the fire that broke out last week in the central purchasing offices of essential medicines and materials. In his interview, Mr. Bariak did not fail to recall the existence of strong link between the institutions and the Minister of Health, affirming his willingness to further strengthen them by accompanying projects in the health sector. The Minister of Health appreciated the commendable approach of one of the most important financial institutions in the country. He reported on the current situations of CAM, the actions already undertaken by state and the future prospect for the entire supply chains of health product. Their stay began with a visit to the forest of Dai, the historical and cultural site of Dai, after an express breakfast where they enjoyed the traditional dishes typical of the locality. The young people grouped into several categories took the path of the forest. They were able to discover and learn several varieties of potential species such as juniper, stranger's fig, sunflower, and other before taking a break in front of the former governor's house, comfortably built in the heart of the forest. The mountain that faces you is the one of called Sheikh Abazid, a revered mountain. Is a cultural heritage that our region is. He hammered Muhammad Merito, the young guide is visibly the young guide is visibly fine knowledge of this forest and its environment. Before adding, Sheikh Abazid was not only a mountain; it was a symbol of Dai. His religion and his culture is Didio Musa and Gesol Ahmed set the mood through the visit, and the curious ace of the unexpected visit also participating alongside the young scouts. The Secretary of State Hassan Mohammed Kamil did not fail to praise the remarkable work carried out by those in charge of the sites from the welcomes to the visit. The Secretary of State in charge of decentralization, Hamadu Muhammad Aramis, yesterday Thursday inaugurated the first public market of the villages of Holhol, whose construction was financed by the Regional Council of Ali Sabir during a ceremony placed under his high patronage. Minister Aramis made the trip at the head of strong missions of his department for this historic event, which took fiscal decentralization is one step further, that of translating into the reality on a small scale slogans of local taxations of the services of local development after a warm welcome from the populations of the villages, which was highly mobilized. The minister unveiled the inaugural plaque of the market, surrounded by Musa Adam Migane, the prefect of the region, the president of the regional council, Omar Ahmed, and the member of the parliament of the region, Abdo Siki Diriye, and local elected officials, as well as the East population is benefiting from the infrastructure. He then visited with the officials the interior of the sheet services, the public market where merchant butchers, fruit and vegetable sellers, vendors and handicrafts had taken place. It should be noted that this public market by the constructions of stalls on both sides of it. The Secretary General of the State Secretary in charge of decentralization, Muhammad Isse Faraj, took advantage of this meeting to inform its interlocutor that following the last presidential towers of the region, he added of the state gave the clear institutions to the government to respond to the grievance expressed on that mission. He reassured his interlocutor that the ministry will ensure that support the various departments in its interventions between them and the population. Also on Thursday, on the sidelines of the inaugurations of the ceremony of Holhol, the State Secretary in charge of decentralization held a meeting with the representative of the whole population in the presence of the prefect Musa Adan Migane, the president of the regional council, the member of parliament, and the local elected officials. The Secretary of State in charge of decentralization took advantage of this meeting to inform its interlocutor that following the last presidential tower of the region, the head of state gave clear instructions to the government to respond to the grievance expressed on that occasion. This inauguration of the public market of Holhol was preceded by the visit of the State Secretary in charge, Mr. Aramis, to Ali Sabih, city of the premises of Ali Sabih Roads Agency, whose rehabilitations and equipment were also financed by the Regional Council on the budget coming from local and tax revenue. The Secretary of State in charge of decentralization, Hamadu Muhammad Aramis, congratulated the regional councils of Ali Sabir for these two investments whose results, he said, are palpable. He said that for this reason that they are likely to reassure taxpayers that the money collected from them has been reinvested in development projects in their region. They will allow for better tax collections in the future than in the past. Minister Aramis added that very soon other local authorities will inaugurate infrastructure as a result of their investment of the revenue collected. This summer animation organized by the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports in partnership with the Ministry of Women and Family, the Ministry of Budget, the Ministry of Interior Communication, the Djibouti City Hall, the RTD, Djibouti National Olympic and Sport Committee continues yesterday evening, Thursday, in front of the Guled Stadium. A musical animations where several artists and national groups have performed present at the ceremony, where the representative of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, the Minister of Women and Family, Olympic Committee, and the Mayor of Djibouti. This sports and musical activity will last all months of August. They aim to calm and fill their program grid with young people during these the school holidays. This activity.
jacaylo ma gali karo kaamana garqaate daraadka xishiyo male guddi loola taga idinkala gurayse.
The Tajora branch is working hard to animate the youth of its region by carrying out the instructions of given by the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Hassan Mohamed Kamil, on the multiplications of activity and competitions in order to animate the region, the sub-region, the sub-direction organizes everywhere in the localities and chief towns of sport competitions according to its schedule drawn up within the framework of quarterly plans. It is within this framework that the sub-directions of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports of Tajora, associations of young youth vigilance, in collaborations with the Regional Football League, launched in the afternoons of Wednesday, August 5, the football tournament. For the international scene, Portugal neo-Nazi group threatens dozen people, a resurgence of racism in Portugal and a new shock for the country 3 weeks after a crime is described as racist. An investigation is opened after threats were made against anti-racism activists. A dozen people received an email from a neo-Nazi group ordering them to leave the countries within 48 hours, failing which action will be taken against them and their families. The emails end with the sentence, August will be a month of a struggle against the nation's traitors and their supporters. Among the target are 3 female congressmen. It was the association SOS Racism that alerted the police on 6th August. It had already received an email referring to death threatened from a group that presents itself as a new extreme right-wing militia. Mamadou Ba, the president of SOS Racism, came out of the police stations where he testified, "Our duty is to report this threat and it is the responsibility of the authorities to investigate." This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.